government should listen to itself. But because there are saboteurs within government, and because government is complicit, which Buhari has said, which Jonathan has said, which everybody is saying now, that there are people in government sitting in the villa, sitting on the ministers' roundtable, who are part of this. I mean, it's not me saying it, it's various government officials who are admitting to it.
Hello and welcome to another edition of A Live Class. My name is Adewale Adefuye. Last episode, we began to look at this subject of genocide in Nigeria. And I've got with me none other person than my brother, my friend, St. Richard Ikiebe. Dr. Ikiebe, welcome again to A Live Class.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be back here. Thank you.
Yes. Last time around, we stopped at the time when we began to look at this state of denial. It appears that what is happening in Nigeria seems not to be called. Many groups don't seem to see the same way. You know, there are those who seem to deny and say, oh, they are killing everybody. And there are those who are really saying, look, it's documented. Christians are being killed, and those who are killing them are Muslims. So why? And the government seems, I mean, recently they seem to have sent a delegation to the U.S., trying to counter what the Americans have said, saying, look, Nigeria has now become a country of interest, of special concern, So why do you think there is this denial by the powers that be?
There are many reasons why there are deniers. If I came to your house now and I said, or rather, if I call you where you are and I said it's raining, and you said no, it's not raining. I'm actually looking out of my window now and it's all sunny. You will be true. I mean, what you're saying will be true, and what I am saying is true. Because where I am at, it's raining cats. Where you are is sunny. So if it's not touching us and we have a platform to speak, we can come out and say, oh, who are those people who are claiming that Nigeria has a killing spree problem amounting to genocide? From where I stand, I can't see it. It cannot be true. That person will be forgiven if because of where he lives, he doesn't experience the killings in the way some other people do. But the people that that surprise me and that I feel they are being beyond disingenuous are the people who, when they know that there are killings, they themselves have attested to it in the past, and they have condemned it in the past. And because of their current circumstances, they are changing their positions and denying that there is such a state. I think those people deserve to be pitied because they are outrightly lying to themselves first, and then lying to the rest of the country. Why is there a state of? Why is there a general feeling of denial? Because the issue of insecurity in Nigeria is like a behemoth, a huge elephant, a huge, huge animal, beast, and people experience it differently. Part of the study that we did a year ago was to discover that the expressions of insecurity in various parts of the country are different. The expressions in Northeast, they know Boko Haram, they sleep with Boko Haram and ISWAP, They drink it. So for them now, if you come to south to a place like Calabar, and you are saying Boko Haram, they have only heard of it by the just hearing. And Akwa Ibom say Boko Haram, what was that? So they won't feel it the way somebody in Borno or in Dutsi is feeling it. If you go to the southwest, where there is kidnapping and organ harvesting and all kinds of, or you go to the south where there is uh, vandalism and um, pipeline vandalism and crude oil theft, the insecurity there is totally different. If you go to the southeast, where they are all talking about secession and the cry for Biafra, again, it's a totally different generation of discussion. If you go to the Middle Belt and you're having the Fulani jihadist, uh, um, attacking villages and wiping out villages and expelling villagers into the urban areas, so the concept of insecurity in the various parts of the country is different. And we have also developed all kinds of foolish nomenclatures to describe them. We talk about bandits. Bandits, what does that mean? These guys are terrorists. If we can limit the names to one or two, it will help people. Nigeria, it's only in Nigeria I hear about unknown gunmen. Unknown gunmen. They killed yesterday. They were unknown. They killed 2 weeks ago, 3 months last year. And today, in a state, you're still talking about unknown gunmen. That is an application of responsibility.
Yeah, but the question is, I mean, okay, I get the illustration you are giving when you are looking at different spaces. Somebody is looking from the window of where he is, but when you are looking at the same space, even from different avenues, why would someone? I mean, even from different angles, why would someone talking about is happening, for example, in the north? Say northeast or northwest. Say, you know what? Okay, let's leave every other area. Let's focus on this particular area. Why is that denial? Because again, in the north, there is a talk about negotiating with terrorists. There's a talk about forgiving them. There's a talk about reabsorbing them into the military and all that. So, is anyone benefiting from this that will make them want to deny what others can say and call it out what it is really?
Well, I spoke about a third, was it a third or second category of people who actually experience violence, see insecurity, and still say it doesn't exist. Or people who have in the time past condemned it, and now, because of their current positions, being opportunistic and saying, no, 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 it's not happening. I think the North, uh, the Northwest particularly, imagined that they could contain it by money and negotiation, because the peculiarity of what is happening in the Northwest, where it is the Muslim Fulanis against the Muslim Hausas, mostly is ethnic. This is again another aspect of it in the Northwest that people have refused, because it is scary. It is scary for government to admit, just as it is scary for them to admit that it is religious, it is even more scary for them to admit that it is ethnic. So they would rather call it banditry. They would rather call it unknown gunmen, because banditry gives the impression that it is tentative. It gives the impression that it is not organized. It gives the impression of local criminals just taking advantage of stuff. But these guys are organized, and there are names around which they congregate. There are philosophies around which they congregate. There are ideologies around which they congregate, and that drives them and gives them impetus. So in the Northeast, that ideology is Boko Haram, is ISWAP. In the North Central is land grabbing. But in the Northwest, we have basically developed a kidnapping economy, as some people have said. And that has come about because of the failure of governance. In fact, across the country is the failure of governance anyway. But in the Northwest, particularly, is the failure of governance that has allowed this type of thing to fester, where governors, rather than spend time in their state capital, spend their time in Abuja. And local government chairman, rather than spend their time in their local government headquarters, spend their time in the state headquarters. So there's
But you should do. I mean, I'm just again. I mean, you are part of you had a foundation, no, a group. You know, you've done a lot of studies. You know, you are part of the academia, and you've done. So, who should the government be listening to? You know, when there are different interests, and the government, like you said, is reluctant to call it what it is. Why would the government be reluctant to label it as it is, really? And who should they be listening to get an idea of what they need to do? Because you have so many data points that tend to paint a picture like you've painted right now. That look, it might be the same thread that strings to northeast, north central, and northwest, but the expressions are different. And not only that, the expressions are different. Yes, that the expressions are different. Yes.
I think first of all, the government is the government does not want to openly admit that it has a problem. That's the basic thing. Now, if you then ask who should government listen to, the government should listen to itself. But because there are saboteurs within government, and because government is complicit, which Buhari has said, which Jonathan has said, which everybody is saying now, that there are people in government sitting in the villa, sitting on the ministers' roundtable, who are part of this. I mean, it's not me saying it; it's various government officials who are admitting to it. So, and because of that, government is handicapped because you can't trust the next person sitting to you. There was a news story that was out 2 weeks ago that Tinubu, the president, did say that if he confronts these hoodlums and killers and criminals and jihadists, he will be killed. Uh, nobody came out to deny it. So people will almost invariably believe it. But I think the question you're asking is saying that if I was government, first of all, if I have to get somebody from outside to come and study the situation, we have done the study, we have given the reports to some people in government. Both the silent slaughter that we did 5 years ago, and then unraveling insecurity, which we did last year, and from which I gave you those various regional scenarios. Government should sit down and tell itself the truth. Because, like you said in the last episode, when we were rounding up, if you don't correctly diagnose an illness, you cannot have the right solution to it. So, on the one part, government is afraid that if we admit that there is genocide, trouble. If we admit that it is religious, trouble if we admit that it is. So government has a right to all those feelings, but don't let what you believe now now deny you from looking for a solution. For instance, this is what I'm saying. If I know that it is a religious problem and I admit it's a religious problem, I don't have to carry a megaphone and say it is a religious problem. No, but I will I will put out solutions to solve it without doing drum rolls that I have discovered the real problem blah, 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 is religious. No, but what we're doing now is that we are denying, and
Yeah.
then we are now looking for other solutions to
Yeah.
solve the problem. You
Well,
know,
it's, I mean, we seem to be fooling ourselves, and we know
yes.
we are fooling ourselves. We know that we are not speaking truth to ourselves, really. But I'm just wondering who really benefits from this, apart from the direct beneficiaries, the terrorists themselves. It appears that while we're playing politics with all these things, and we can see the effect of that in the number of people who are internally displaced. We have the IDPs, and there have been quite a number of reports and going on in those IDP camps and all that. So, the question is, who are those benefiting from this, and why are we playing politics with all this? Because, like you said, there are those, because they want to gain power, they'll deny the diagnosis of the situation. And then when they're in office, because they want to perpetuate themselves as well, they are denying all these things. So again, I just need to know from those who do.
Well, there are. Who was it? One of the American presidents said that um, there is a reason why anything happens in politics. That nothing is by chance. Uh, Everything is programmed. If I'm to use my brother Thompson's language, everything is programmed, and so I think we do ourselves a disservice by thinking that there is no hand behind it. Several different areas have been suggested as being responsible. I because these are still mostly unverified. Nobody can talk about it. I mean, people like OBJ, Obasanjo, General Obasanjo, at one time had come out to say something like there's an Islamization agenda. There are all kinds of reasons that have been adduced to that, and there have been equal defense that there is no Islamization agenda. So the people that benefit, people who are pushing certain ideologies, people who want a domination of a religious point of view in the governance. Unfortunately, if you look at the places where they have used those religious ideologies to govern, they are at the bottom of development in the nation. So you ask yourself, if you've used a religious ideology to govern this your state, and it's the worst in security, is the worst in development, is the worst in education, is the worst in healthcare, what have we benefited from from yes, streaming religious beliefs, ideologies, other than the feel good that, oh, we have a so called state, and therefore we are ruled under this particular ideology. It doesn't help if you have not made a difference.
Yeah.
You know,
But
there are lots of
sorry to cut in, but
yeah.
I mean, I remember, I think it was at the time of, was it Obasanjo's second time in office between 2003 and 2007, that some states chose to adopt Sharia, you know, as to adopt Sharia. And it didn't really. Obasanjo didn't really force anything. He didn't. I mean, I can't. I don't remember now what became of that. But then, since the adoption of Sharia, what has really happened? And I think those are some of the things you are alluding to.
Yes, yes, yeah, because it hasn't made any change in those. In fact, those states are probably, there are 12 of them, from Zamfara to Kebbi to Sokoto to Kano to Jigawa to Borno and all that. That whole uh, extreme northern belt,
Hmm.
12 states. And I dare say that in terms of religious, I mean, in terms of educational development, healthcare, um, anything that you want to imagine, the kind of thing
The
that
Human
uh,
Development Index.
Human Development Index, they're probably at the bottom, in the 36 states. Whereas if you go to other places, most other Islamic countries are de-emphasizing Sharia right now, and 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 taking development as a project, as something they need to do, and they need to do fast. So religion is not riding the except when they want to use it for as an arm of influence and control other nations. So you have a state like Turkey who is building mosques all over Africa, and
Which they are not doing in Turkey
which they are
itself.
not doing in their own country. So it's a controlling mechanism, yeah, which religion has always done very effectively for people who want to misappropriate it.
So I know that at this time many people will be discussing what the issues are and all that, but as but I just think we should be. Are there ways out? Is there anything well? I'm not sure yet, but is there anything individuals can do? Is there anything collectives can do? Various people groups apart from the government, and the government also you have the local, which seems powerless because there was a time there were so many local governments under seem to be governed, so to say, by the terrorists. So is there anything anyone can do really?
I think in my years of involvement in this, the biggest problem that I think we have is that people are not interested. People don't want to be engaged. The
Okay.
first time I sent a cameraman to the north to investigate and talk with church leaders, many church leaders did not want to talk on camera. Only
Okay.
Bishop Kwashi agreed. Bishop Kwashi, then Bishop of Jos,
Yeah.
agreed to talk on camera. And so,
Would that not be because of the security as well? The moment you show up on camera, because there was a time you went to a place, to a town or a village. Yeah, it wasn't a town, not big enough to be a town, and too small to be a village. And shortly after, the place was raided. So,
yes,
is it not understandable why
yes,
Christian leaders don't want to be on camera?
yes, it is understandable, but since the day you refuse to speak out, more people have been killed. So the first thing to do is to take a decision that if I perish, I perish, because your people are the people being killed, and more of them are going to be killed if you sit down and do nothing. Um, I think the church, going to the church now, the church has been over silent. I think the the leadership, the elite leadership of the North, the if you want to look at it from a Christian side, you say the Christian side has been silent, even though they are blaming others for being silent. Uh, the Northern church is sometimes blaming the Southern church for not being responsive. And I say to the Northern church, let's begin the unity amongst you and amongst your people, and let the southern brethren join in. So that there's a lot of organizing that the church needs to do. The church needs to properly understand what the problem is. I am not sure that we have gained a complete understanding of the nuances of the difference between Borno's jihadist Boko Haram movement and
Yeah.
the jihadist movement in North Central.
Because when you talk about Borno jihadists, for example, I mean, Borno is primarily Kanuri, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And then of course the average southerner has always been made to think that the north was monolithic. There's
That's
just one
true.
solid north, but it's
That's it.
only in recent years people begin to see that that might not exactly be the situation at all, that the whole of
Mhm.
the north is not just Hausa or Fulani. And I think again it's only in recent years people begin to say that Hausa Fulani is not exactly anything like Hausa Fulani. There's
Yeah.
Hausa, there's Fulani,
Yeah,
and
there's
then
nothing like Hausa Fulani as a tribe,
yes,
because we've always referred to them in literature,
yeah,
even in academic literature, as a tribe.
yeah,
It does not happen anywhere in the world that you take two distinct people,
yeah.
two distinct traditions, and you say Hausa Fulani tribe. It does not
No,
happen.
well,
It is abnormal. It's only in Nigeria that you have such nonsense.
yeah,
And it has been sustained
mm,
because it helps the narratives of those who want it so, because it serves their purpose.
yes.
You
Okay.
know, it's like the story between the flea and the elephant.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
the small flea controls the big elephant,
yeah.
and so we rather have a mislabeling
Okay.
of ethnic relationships,
See. Okay.
because it helps them to hide under the Hausa group.
Okay. So coming back again to what can you were talking about the church. The church
Yes,
doesn't
the
seem to
church needs to
understand. If the church
organize.
needs to be, yeah.
The elite, the southern and the northern elite need to really double down and understand the dynamics, the issues, the factors, all the elements that are involved.
But the
Um,
understanding requires leadership. Somebody has to lead this, especially when, because when you have people fragmented, the churches is not just like they are just one group. You have different denominations and all that. There must be some handshaking and the coming together, and there must be some leadership required for this.
That's true. That's why people like you need to stand up and exercise your influence in the areas that you have, and then try to connect with the North, try to understand the dynamic. I was saying to somebody the other day, the North has a huge army of generals, retired army generals.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean,
You know,
remember the Langtag
yeah, the
soldiers,
Lantang Mafia.
the Langtang mafia.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
and none of them is speaking out except the man you referred to earlier, General
Oh yeah,
Danjuma.
T.Y. Danjuma. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so who after Danjuma has spoken? None. So the silence is not just the silence of the government, it's the silence of enclaves, northern generals, both Muslims who are being killed in the Zamfara area, in
yeah,
Kebbi area, in Sokoto area, and
yeah,
in the south, in the north central. They are quiet.
yeah,
The elite,
yeah,
you know, you know. So, first of all, we need to educate ourselves. Second, we need to organize ourselves. We need to
yeah,
organize ourselves to deliver change.
mm,
The church needs to be a lot more engaged. The
yeah,
church has been so insular. Everything happens within the four walls of the church.
yeah.
And we dance, we talk to each
We
other.
clap, we dance, we do
Yeah,
everything. We've seen church to just be when we are gathered,
yeah,
and yet we should be looking at when the church is scattered.
yeah,
We spend
yeah,
more time
yeah.
scattered than when we are gathered. I think we'll have
Exactly.
to bring you back, Dr. Richard Ikiebe, to at some point we explore what the church really can do. Because if help doesn't come from outside, and we say, and the church declares that the church has Jesus Christ and is supernatural, then we should be able to look inwards and say, what can we trust God to do through us? We'll have to get you back to discuss this and other things.